But if you want to start a strong community of men that is forward focused, the first thing you start with is like, hey, bro, do you even lift? It's a joke, but it's true. You got to start with your physical fitness, because physical fitness and your physical integrity combined with your mental, emotional, and spiritual integrity is the foundation for sovereignty. If you are weak physically, if you are weak mentally, weak emotionally, weak spiritually, you have no chance of being a sovereign individual. And by that, I mean, not so much like politically sovereign, but like personally sovereign, mentally sovereign, able to choose your own ideas, right? Jordan Peterson had a good line. People don't have ideas, ideas have people. Yeah, well, we don't want that, right? We want to consciously decide what we believe and then be strong enough and equipped enough to embody those values in our life so that we have alignment between our values, our mission, purpose, and action. If you just bob along the sea of life receiving the narratives that you're given, you will end up fat, sick, in debt, chained to a desk. And I don't think there's really much disputing that, right? If you just listen to what the common wisdom is, if you listen to what the government tells you, the nutritional pyramid, and go to school and borrow all this money and all whatever, if you just go along passively, that's where you're going to end up: fat, sick, in debt, chained to a desk. Knowing what your values are, first of all, or even being able to discover them, much less embody them, much less manifest more of them in the world around you, begins with taking care of yourself. I would argue it starts with sleep. I mean, if you can't, we laugh because it's so simple, but man, a lot of people overlook it. Mm-hmm. If you aren't guarding your sleep as the number one thing in your life, then it all cascades into everything else. Sleep, squats, nutrition, meditation or spirituality of some kind, cognitive behavioral therapy or training of some kind. These are the fundamental components of our organization, Liminal Order. Mm-hmm. And every guy has to engage in these behaviors and has to be moving. We have standards. We have like fitness standards, mindfulness standards. We even have blood work standards. Every guy has to be moving towards these standards or he can't participate. He has to go. And we've kicked people out because they weren't committed.
Okay. So what are some of the defining characteristics, or what makes a brotherhood unique, a male-to-male relationship? I think there's a lot that you've kind of hinted at, but what are some of the defining characteristics of being a bro?
Well, I think it's useful just to back up even one layer for that and just acknowledge that men and women have different interests. We have different emotional makeups. We have different aptitudes, different physical skills, different qualities, just in general. Not black and white. It's not binary. We all know this. It's two overlapping humps that have tails that overlap. So you can have women with masculine traits and men with feminine traits. But generally speaking, right, we know this. The data is very clear that we're different. So we communicate differently. So we cooperate differently. And so we want to communicate and cooperate differently to achieve different ends. I would argue that masculine energy versus feminine energy is each one to me has an absolute value of 1, right? In my simple little model here. Feminine energy to me is to get you healed from -1 to 0. Masculine energy is to help you build 0 to +1. We all get damaged. We all get hurt at some time. We're hungry, we're tired, we're sleepy, we're stressed, we're sad, whatever. We all need to be healed. That's why feminine energy is important, partially. Equally as important as masculine energy. We need to be healed. Men, we need to build and create. Masculine energy is to build, to create, to protect, to instruct, to provide. That's the +1 element. So you need both. You need to be healed and you need to grow. And you do these in different ways with different styles and techniques and attitudes and expectations. And so, who hasn't had a miscommunication with their wife, a man, simply because of the different ways that we approach problems, right? So what's important about brotherhood is that you can now be involved in a group of people that share your energy, build, create, instruct, provide energy, and also communicate in a similar way. And then understand what it's like to be going through all these experiences in this current environment. So it's relatable. So there's a comfort there, right? A rational comfort. And women just do things differently. They just communicate differently. I'm not a woman. I've observed it. I've experienced it. I've seen it. Women, red pill women I know, like my girl and all these, some women in my life, they'll admit it. They'll tell you. But it's not the same. And anytime you get a man, if you have a group of men and a woman shows up, dynamic changes completely. There's no avoiding it. None. The presence of a woman in a group of men changes the dynamic. It changes men's ability to express themselves, to be honest with themselves, to be vulnerable with each other. And by the way, men are vulnerable with each other. I don't know where this notion came from that they shouldn't be or they're not. To me, that is something that is out there that I would like to see go away. Vulnerability is important. And I don't mean like being mopey and crying to your girlfriend about stuff, but I mean like the vulnerability that is a process of honesty and reflection and asking for help, right? Or at least sharing what you're going through and looking for the sense of accountability or relatableness, or offering up a negative experience that turn into a positive one for someone else so that they can get through whatever struggle they may be going through. And so for us, brotherhood is about service also. So our version of brotherhood has sub values, right? It has loyalty, service, accountability, and community. Service to each other. And that service to each other in today's age, some of it has to do with reflecting negative experiences or times that you were afraid or uncertain or uncomfortable or failures that you turn into successes, right? So you want to help each other, and you have to be a little bit vulnerable in that in order to communicate, to share. And so for all these reasons, a male space is essential, because it is where men can be vulnerable, and it is where men can be honest, and it is where men can be loyal and of service to each other in a way that is unaffected by the presence of a woman, which it will 100% of the time change the dynamic. 100% of the time. It's in the air. It's chemical or something. Because, men it's all about status. The relationship between men and women is all about status. Men compete for women based on status. And when a woman's around, you don't want to reveal your low status. So things change. You're less honest. You project more. You're less vulnerable. Hypergamy rears its head yet again.
So when did you start this Liminal Order?
Liminal Order was officially launched in June of 2019. I had been working on it proactively through the end of 2018 into the spring of 2019. But in reality, I've been working on it for 10 years. I rebuilt my life after my divorce. And after I did it through lots of starts and stops and trial and error and the discovery, I went back and sort of broke down to myself how it happened. And I realized one of the key components for me was community, building a community. And so my work in the manosphere and through my divorce and self-improvement and stuff. So I had been working on it in some ways before then, but it only coalesced really in 2019. It's been almost 2.5 years. Or
what was the spark to coalesce it? What was the grain that started crystallizing it?
I mean, I knew there was a need for it for many years. I did not have the professional capacity or motivation or time to enact it until I got doxxed. So I got doxxed. My reputation was destroyed. I got called a Nazi and a racist. I got fired. My whole reputation went up in smoke. Everything I had worked for 43 years or whatever was gone. No income, no future of working in the field anymore. People don't hire Nazis to run schools full of black kids. Whether it's true or not, it's not. FYI, spoiler. So I had to find something else. I had to find something new. And at the time, I also had been, reading Nassim Taleb and Anti-Fragility, and understanding that if I'm going to have a sovereign life in this environment, it needed to be built in an anti-fragile way. And so all these things came together: my need for a new job, my mission in life, my purpose. Because I had been writing, I had been blogging, I had written a book, I'd been touring and speaking at men's events. So this was already something I was passionate about. It was just it was the time for me at that moment to professionalize it and turn it into a real operation. And from zero, we're now about 500 members all across the world.